Welcome back to Literacy Listens, the podcast where we dive into all things listening comprehension and its powerful role in literacy development. I'm Amber, and I'm joined today by Brian, our listening comprehension expert.
Hey Amber, it's great to be back. I'm really excited for today's topic.
Me too. In today's episode, we're unpacking one of the most important ideas in the whole series, understanding why comprehension is so complex and why that matters for instruction. To understand that why, we're exploring a model that pulls everything together. Dr. Young-Suk Grace Kim's direct and indirect effects model of reading. Last episode, we talked a lot about the difference between shallow and deep comprehension. Today, we're diving into what's really happening under the surface when students make meaning.
Just like we did in the previous episode, let's think about a classroom read aloud. Picture this. A teacher reads a passage about a desert habitat. One student, maybe an English learner, hears a sentence, "The fennec fox has large ears to dissipate heat," but gets stuck on the word dissipate. He understands large ears, but misses the meaning of the sentence.
Right, a vocabulary breakdown, a lower-level skill holding him back.
But then you have another student. She knows every word in the sentence. When the teacher asks, "Why would a fox need to get rid of heat?" she shrugs. She understood the words, but she can't make the inference that the fox lives somewhere hot.
Two students, same sentence, two different breakdowns.
And that's exactly what Dr. Young-Suk Grace Kim captures in her model. What's new here is that Kim doesn't just tell us that word reading and listening comprehension matter. She shows how they matter by identifying the smaller skills underneath them and mapping the pathways between those skills. One important note for listeners. In the DIER model, language comprehension is defined specifically as listening comprehension. These terms are often used interchangeably, but naming listening comprehension makes the mode explicit and reminds us that these skills are built through oral language and spoken text, not only print. Kim's model expands on the simple view of reading by showing that comprehension isn't linear. The skills involved are hierarchical, interactive, and dynamic. Think of it less like a ladder and more like a web. Skills continually feed into and influence one another.
If listeners want to follow along visually, we've included an image of the model in our show notes. Since you can't see it while listening, we'll name the major sections as we go. Let's start at the very base of the model.
At the base, you'll find executive function skills like working memory and attentional control. These are the cognitive skills that allow students to hold information in mind and stay focused long enough to make sense of what they hear or read.
So, remembering the beginning of a sentence while hearing the end and staying focused on the meaning.
Exactly. Above those cognitive skills are the two central pillars, word reading and listening comprehension. These are the skills that directly contribute to reading comprehension. Listening comprehension includes foundational skills like vocabulary, grammar, and syntax, as well as higher-level skills like inference, reasoning, perspective taking, and comprehension monitoring. Many researchers also include text structure here, since it helps students organize ideas and understand how meaning is built across a text.
And word reading?
Word reading has its own foundational skills, phonology, orthography, and morphological awareness, or understanding how meaningful word parts work together.
So at the foundation, we have executive function skills. Above that, the two central pillars, word reading and listening comprehension, and the skills that support them.
Exactly, and here's a key idea in Kim's model. Not all skills contribute to reading comprehension in the same way. Word reading and listening comprehension contribute directly. Other skills contribute indirectly by supporting those two pillars.
For example, a student's vocabulary might not directly determine how well they comprehend a written text, but it supports listening comprehension, and that's what directly contributes to reading comprehension.
The same is true for knowledge. Background knowledge isn't just topic knowledge. It also includes discourse knowledge, understanding text structures, genres, and how ideas are organized. And knowledge feeds into listening comprehension through different pathways, depending on the text, the task, and the learner. Because listening comprehension directly supports reading comprehension, that's how knowledge ultimately influences reading, indirectly but powerfully.
So knowledge isn't a pillar in the model, but it's still a critical piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Knowledge supports the development and use of many listening comprehension skills, especially vocabulary, inference, reasoning, perspective taking, and comprehension monitoring, thereby strengthening overall listening comprehension. Kim's model also includes socio-emotional factors like motivation, attitudes towards reading, and students' beliefs about themselves as learners. These don't directly drive reading comprehension, but they influence how engaged students are and how effectively they apply their language and literacy skills.
That makes sense. When students experience success, they're more willing to engage and persist, and when they struggle, that can shape how they approach reading.
Exactly. Two students with similar language skills may respond very differently to the same text depending on their confidence, motivation, and prior experiences. Kim also identifies text reading fluency as an important bridge between word reading and listening comprehension. As fluency increases, students expend less effort decoding and can devote more cognitive resources to meaning making.
So Kim describes these skills as hierarchical, interactive, and dynamic. Can you unpack this some more for our listeners?
Right. Dynamic means the relative contribution of each skill changes over time. Early on, word reading often plays a larger role because students are still learning to decode. But that doesn't mean instruction should focus only on word reading. Listening comprehension instruction needs to occur alongside word reading from the beginning. Oral language skills are already influencing comprehension long before students can read independently. As decoding becomes automatic, listening comprehension and higher-level language skills become the strongest drivers of reading comprehension. That shift also reflects text complexity. Early texts are simpler, but as language and ideas become more complex, students rely increasingly on listening comprehension and reasoning skills.
And instruction doesn't stop targeting one area.
Exactly. If a student still struggles with word reading at any age, instruction differentiates. Some students need continued explicit support in the coding while also engaging in language-rich learning that builds knowledge and comprehension. And here's the good news. Unlike word reading, there's no ceiling on listening comprehension instruction. Teachers can't overteach it. High-quality instruction continues to drive growth throughout schooling.
So the DIER model helps us see listening comprehension as both foundational and fluid, something that grows, shifts, and interacts across development.
Exactly. That's what makes the model so powerful. It explains why comprehension is complex and why instruction has to be responsive to that complexity.
Next time, we'll zoom in on one of those pillars, listening comprehension, and unpack what's happening inside it. Thanks for joining us for Literacy Listens. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, and visit listeningcomprehension.org for show notes and resources.